Thank you, Andy. Hi, everyone. My name is Shay Meddings, and I'm the host of the Mental as Anyone podcast. I'm a psychologist, and I interview comedians and other entertainers about their mental health with the aim of helping to increase understanding and awareness of mental health. I've had some really insightful and interesting conversations, including with Andy, and I encourage you to have a listen. So find Mental as Anyone through the Facebook page, on iTunes or other podcasting platforms. Stay safe and well.
G'day, Andy Socialites. It's Jeremy Big Jez Turner here. I'm just coming in with a quick plug for me mate Andy because he's running a fucking sweet deal over at his Patreon account at the moment. So I've been a member of it for a few months now. It's always been a pretty entertaining little listen on a Tuesday morning, I think it is. He does a heap of shitty karaoke. He'll tell us a whole bunch of things about random shit that he's researched in the last week. He'll tell you a little bit about what's going on in the world of the man himself, Andy Dowling. My personal favourite part is his mission to offset his impending alcoholism with getting his steps up on his iPhone. It's just all round good fucking fun. In any case, you can join for as little as $1 a month. Of course, that $1 a month is a slap in the face tier, so if you're feeling even halfway flush, you should probably go for the $5 jobby, and in return you get a whole heap of sweet extra content, and he gets to keep doing his thing, and then maybe at some point in the next fucking decade, we'll get another Lord album. And in any case, like $5 is pretty much nothing. If you live in Sydney, or even worse, if you live in fucking Melbourne, $5 is somewhere between a third and half of a schooner in most pubs. So it's a pretty sweet deal, and it goes a long way to help Andy keep pumping out the good shit we all like. Anyway, thanks for listening. Enjoy the podcast. All right.
Hey, welcome back to the Andy Social Podcast, episode 253. 253. I don't know why I'm repeating that number over and over again, but it is what it is. This week's guest is comedian Mick Meredith. Mick's been around the traps for quite a few years now. He started off as a muso back in the 80s. In the Sydney music scene, and in the 90s started dipping his toe into comedy, and he's been doing that ever since. And I'm going to have a bunch of his videos and his music in the show notes over at andysocial.net and andydowling.net. You can go to mick.com.au. Nice and easy. So easy that I couldn't even fucking say it properly. He's on Instagram and Facebook. I'm going to have everything in the show notes, of course, and in the description of this podcast episode, so click through and check it all out. Mick's latest song called Rod came out a few weeks ago on all the streaming services, on like Apple Music and Spotify, etc. Go and check that out. Great song. In a nutshell, it's all about, and I'm going to butcher this by the way, but it's about him going to battle with his partner where she likes Rod Stewart and he would prefer to listen to Iron Maiden and Judas Priest. So a really funny song, great, like well written, very catchy. I think you guys will really dig it, so I'll have that in the show notes for you guys to check out. But enough crapping on from me. Please enjoy this great chat with the great, because I'm going to keep saying great, the great Mick Meredith. Congrats on the new song.
Thanks.
It's pretty funny. When I was listening to it, I just thought this must be like the war cry for every married man who grew up listening to like heavy metal and become, sort of face to face with this sort of turning point in their life where, the partner sort of turns around and goes, you still listen to that stuff? Okay.
Yeah, she really hates it actually. She has a few drinks and then she describes it to me and says, "This is what your music sounds like," and it's just a classic cliche. And I'm like, "Nah, it's nothing like that."
Have you tried to convert her? Have you tried to play her a bit of Iron Maiden or something like melodic that's sort of against the stereotype?
She's been to metal concerts and she just kind of plods along. She has a good time.
Yeah.
If I got no one to go with, I'll take her. And she's like, "Yeah, it's good." Like, yeah, if Iron Maiden came out, she'd definitely go and see him because it'd be on her radar. She likes to see things that she's tick off the bucket list sort of thing, and so that'd be on the bucket list. So we went and seen Dickinson Talk a couple of years ago.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's the band that has the theatrics as well. So really, I mean, even if you didn't know much or didn't care much for the music, you'd still have a good time anyway, because it's not just a bunch of blokes getting on stage and playing their guitars. It's there's a bit of a visual experience going on.
Yeah, she might like Judas Priest too. You never know.
Well, if they ever make it back, then you might have to test that one out.
Well, he'll be about 70 then, so we'll see.
Well, I think they were meant to do their 50th anniversary this year, and I thought, oh, geez, I can't imagine like, you know, being sort of like a 50-year-old like a metal musician touring is one thing, but to be playing in the same band for 50 years is like,
yeah,
that's pretty yeah, I don't know. For me being sort of half that age, I sort of go, well, yeah, it's a bit hard to sort of comprehend.
Rob loves it, mate.
Do you follow him on Instagram?
I follow him on other things. Maybe I do follow him on Instagram. I'm not quite sure.
Yeah,
I've muted a lot of things because it's just too much to take in from people.
There's a lot of shit. Yeah, I think Halford's one on Instagram. It's just all cat photos. It's just him with
that's
cats.
right. Yeah. Of course there is.
I mean, he broke the stereotype back in the early '90s when he sort of came out and told everyone, you know, his preferences, and then he's been breaking the stereotypes ever since then. So I'm sure everyone's sort of well, especially the hardcore metalheads, the serious guys, you know, they won't crack a smile, and they'll be looking at Rob Halford, the metal god, with a little kitty holding the kitty with the smile.
Yeah, he might push a few away this time with the cats, you think?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, probably
too far, Rob. Too far.
Yeah, that's right. You crossed the line. So I assume that this is like the first of a few songs that you're going to be putting out. So you got an album in the works or something like that?
Yeah, I thought about an album, but I probably, if you see me live, I do more talking than singing, but I still like to think I'm in a band. And when you got all this digital stuff now, you can sound like you're actually in a band. So I just, fiddle around. But I don't think I'll put an album out, and every song's going to sound very different, so it'll be a weird album. So I'm just going to put out about 4 singles over the next 6 to 8 months sort of thing.
I think it's probably the way to go these days. Even like, bands now are changing the way they release music. It's too hard to put out, 10 or 12 songs and then expect everybody to digest it, listen to it, and listen to it more than once, because there's just so much stuff coming out. So if you just put one song out, leave it a few months, and it's probably going to sink in a bit more, I think.
Yeah. And like I said, they're all different. So I'm just doing a lyric video for that one, and that was kind of like the weakest one, probably. It's just sort of I've had it for a while. I think it's mildly amusing, but it was sort of a birthday present to my partner. But yeah, people seem to like it. But the next few are pretty funny. So.
Oh, there you go. I like how you said, like, this is my weak song. Like, you really setting those expectations. Like, if you like this one, get ready.
Get ready. It's going to blow your mind.
I thought it was really good. It's really, I mean, like a lot of the stuff that you've been putting out over the years, really catchy, upbeat sort of stuff, witty lyrics. I mean, obviously being a comedian, it's got to have an element of, comedic theme to it. And I don't know, it ticked all the boxes. It was quite good. So, and I think the artwork is another thing as well, which just drags people in as well. I think it's just one of those things where, there's the old cliche, you can't judge a book by its cover, but you certainly can. And I think having some great artwork definitely, convinces people to go and click on a link and have a listen to something. Yeah. So it was a good combo.
Yeah, so a lot of people have said I look like Gordon Ramsay in that picture. So there may be a parody coming. You never know. I thought I don't look like anyone. I always wanted to be one of them people that looks like someone so I can make money out of looking like them, but maybe it's a chance. I just got to learn the accent, and I can swear quite well. So, and I can cook. So there you go. Maybe I do a partnership with Nats What I Reckon or something.
Yeah, there you go. There's a collab there waiting to happen. Hey, when the opportunity comes, you got to seize it.
Absolutely, I'm ready. I still got a bit left in the tank. Got to keep going.
Well, the album you put out a few years back. I mean, I don't even know how long ago it was. 5 or 6 years ago.
2014.
2014. There you go. So, how did that go for you? Just talking about what you just said before about putting new music out now and spacing it out and just putting a song every few months. Back then you put out a full album, and like, what was that experience, sort of doing that, finishing that off, putting it out there into the world, and sort of coming into this now? Did it work well, or were you sort of looking back now and going, didn't quite hit as well as I thought, just being sort of, a comedian playing music? I don't know how you would even approach it.
Yeah, I probably I was playing in a duo called Ride the Wombat, and he didn't really want to. He wouldn't want to go down that path of recording again. So I just went out on my own, and there's a few Ride the Wombat songs on there. But yeah, there was probably some weak songs on there. There's songs I really like, and I still play live. But there's a lot I've never even played live. So that's kind of the point of a comedian writing songs is you got to do them live. So if you don't want to do them live, then maybe you can put about it on an album, I suppose. But yeah, it was fun though. I like the whole idea because I always wanted to be a rock star. So this is my little way of still hanging in there somehow.
Well, I was, I've been aware of you for quite a few years, and with the band connections, knowing Stu, so anyone listening, Stu Marshall used to play in Dungeon. He's gone off. Yeah. He's doing heavy metal warrior things all over the world now, doing great stuff. But he's worked with you, and so I think I'm pretty sure that's how I sort of came to know what you were doing. Yeah. And but I didn't really know a lot about your background, and I was the typical thing, sort of doing a bit of internet stalking, and on your bio it says you were playing at the Sando back in the '80s in bands and stuff like that. What was that like? What kind of bands were you playing in at the time?
Well, I first started out in punk bands. At school we had a punk band called Molten Plastic, of all names. So that was the beginning. That was 14, and then discovered. I knew about metal. I discovered the new age of British heavy metal, all that stuff. So and I went to school with Steve Brown, who you'd know as Vaughan Lush. I think he's on your Facebook.
Yeah.
Yeah, we went to school together. So we started playing together. His brother had a band who was in my year. He was in Treason. You remember Treason? Or was that before your time?
Might be before my time, but I remember the name though.
Yeah, so he was in Treason, and me and Steve were going to start the Australian Venom band. Oh. And we had the name, which was Mortal Sin, and that was stolen from us. So there's a bit of history for you that you probably don't know about.
Bit of controversy.
Yeah, Matt stole it from the pub, the Penshurst Inn. He auditioned, and I said, "No, we don't need a singer. I'm going to sing." So, but he just took the name. So,
I love it.
I've never really confronted him on it. So there you go.
I'm going to start tagging him in Facebook posts now. Well, I need a bit of drama, whatever it takes to get the ratings.
Yeah, so he probably got a different story to me, but then again, whatever. But yeah, me and Steve were playing. I was playing guitar then, and then. When we found a good guitarist, I was going to switch to bass, but it just never came about. So that was it. It was going to be the Aussie Venom band. So, and then I started playing in sort of alternative music at the Sando. I played in a band called House on Fire, which we never recorded. It was sort of like psychedelic furs, heavy psychedelic furs sort of stuff. Then I went to another band called The Moles, and we recorded a few records. That was sort of a jangly pop thing. I was a bass player, so they were very hard to find in those days, so I was getting a lot of gigs.
That's the only reason I started playing in a band. It was everyone wanted to be a guitarist, and I was playing guitar as well, and I thought, well, shit, this isn't working for me. I'm not good enough. So I thought, there's a dusty bass guitar sitting in the corner of my room. It's got less strings. Surely it must be easier. And well, it kind of was, and then it's not as easy as you think. But that was my gateway into playing in bands. It was no one wanted to be the bass player, so there you go. I can relate. Yeah, same. So played in the Plug Uglies towards the end of there. They were kind of the most famous band I played in, and then just a lot of other shitty bands. And then I got married and had kids, and sort of drifted out of the music scene, and then came back as a comedian. So it was a weird. It's not the start you normally get. So, but those days in the Sando, they were great, like brilliant. Yeah, I've only sort of graced the Sando since I moved to Sydney about 15 odd years ago. So I sort of saw the tail end of the era of the Sando, and it was good, but it's certainly no Holy Moly, which is what it is now.
No. Well, apparently it's been sold again.
Oh, has it? Oh, jeez.
Yeah, so it might come back. There's a rumour it's coming back, but I've heard that before. So.
Yeah. Oh, fingers crossed. One of the things I thought about with, as you said, it's not sort of the traditional way of sort of stepping into comedy, sort of having this sort of background and quite a few years being a musician. When you sort of, and without sort of doing the typical, how'd you get into comedy, was when you got started with comedy, was it always with the intention of incorporating music with it, or was that sort of something that a bit more of a light bulb moment later on down the track where you thought, I might just try and blend the two worlds together a bit?
Yeah, no, I didn't start with the music at all. I just did. I used to be a bit of a sideline magician, so I used to do a bit of bad magic from like inspired by the amazing Jonathan early. So I did more of that. I did more comedy and just a couple of little magic tricks in there, and then probably 5 years in, I took the guitar along, and it kind of worked straight away. I went from like support act to headliner in like a matter of a year. So
wow.
So that kind of changed everything. And then I got a couple of TV gigs, and because it was a bit different, and still not many people are doing it. It's a bit hacky to play guitar. Like comics don't like it. They look at you and go, "Oh God, he's playing guitar."
Oh, he's got a prop.
Yeah, 6-string laugh machine, as they call it in the industry. But I got a bit of respect because I could still tell jokes as well. So that when you're all right,
you could back it up.
You're part of the team still.
Yeah. I mean, really. I mean, I my knowledge of comedy is pretty surface level. I'm certainly no sort of comedy expert or enthusiast, but when I sort of instantly think of Aussie comedians that have got a guitar, it's usually like your Rodney Roods or your Kevin Bloody Wilson or something like that. And I mean, I don't really see a lot else out there. So, but I think I don't know. I think what you're doing is different again to what those guys were doing, and I think it was also, well, probably a different era as well. When did they sort of kick in? Probably sort of in the early 80s.
Yeah, late 70s, early 80s, and I started in the mid to late 90s. So I didn't really even have a template of that. So I just did what I thought was funny. Whereas it's a lot of comics now, like younger comics, they kind of not copy, but they stylize their comedy on what they've seen. But I just went out and went, "Oh, this is funny." I think probably ego. I don't know.
Was it easier for you to, even when you're first getting up to do some open mic or whatever it was when you're getting started, was that easier for you to do because you had that onstage experience where you'd been in front of people and performing before? Was it sort of an easy transition, or was it because you didn't have a guitar around your neck, it was sort of like, oh fuck, what am I going to do with my hands?
No, I was probably a bit fearless because I'd played on stage since I was 16. So I was very comfortable. I'm still a bit scared, but it's comfortable. I think I had the edge over other new comics, but that'd be it. Yeah.
Yeah. Anytime I've just done any public speaking or gone up and on stage in front of a mic without a guitar on, I've gone back to like my early days of just doing anything where I was nervous and legs just turned to jelly, and I'm like, oh come on! Like I've played a few gigs now. I've been around the traps for a little bit, but without that guitar, it's almost like the security blanket. You go, oh shit, where's my guitar? I need to hide behind it.
Yeah, it is nice hiding behind a guitar, isn't it? It's hard to explain to some people.
Do you because I know that you do a lot of corporate stuff over the years. Do you find that it's a completely different world, sort of going into that and sort of dealing with that environment versus what you were used to being, a pub musician and just basically playing for the general public and a bit of a free-for-all, whereas I would assume, because I haven't done corporate gigs before, but I assume it's probably a little bit more clinical, a little bit more sort of, a little bit more focused as far as what you need to do?
Yeah, corporate gigs are really hard. They've just come back with COVID kind of lifting, and I've been getting a lot of calls. So you're like, oh, that's good money. And then you're like, oh, hang on, these are shit. These are a bit shit, these gigs. So, yeah, everything's different. Like you'll go in and you have to tell them what you want. And some of them will argue, and that's a bit, showing your ego a bit there. But no, you got to tell them when you want to go on, and you got to put them. You got to be on between the food. No one should be eating food.
Yeah, that'd be awkward. Yeah, sitting there trying to tell a story, or mid verse, and someone's got their fork in their mouth, and everyone's sort of, especially most of those sort of events, everyone's at a round table as well, so you got half the room back to you.
Yeah, and they won't turn around either. Just go, just if you want to just turn around, they go, why, you're that good? I'm like, no, well, what do I say to that?
Have you had any train wrecks doing those types of gigs? Like,
Mate, I've had the most train wrecks doing those gigs.
Give me a couple.
Oh, mate, I've been at ones where they just have not even engaged at all, like just haven't even laughed. And I'm still scratching my head. I'll be like driving home going, what the fuck happened just then? Just completely lost. There's quite a lot of stories. I don't know where to begin, Andy.
I assume that some of the probably the more sort of blue collar sort of type events would probably work better than your. I'm overly stereotyping here, but your typical sort of high end sort of corporate sort of white collared events where it might be a little bit more stale as far as the environment or the atmosphere. I tend to think some of the blue collar guys, especially if it's a Christmas party or something, a big event sort of bash, it might be a little bit looser and people are a little bit more open to having a good time.
Yeah, I try to pick the lower end of the scale, like the big names like Tom Gleeson and people like that. They're making the big dollars and writing specific material. I'll just take your Bunnings Lidcombe Christmas party. That'll do me. That's fine. That's my level of comedy right there. My partner, she's from the corporate world. She goes, "Oh no, you need to take that big one." I went, "Nah, that's not my scene, man."
Who knows? I mean, you could go down really well, but hey, if it's working, doing what you're doing now, then don't change it. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
One of the things I found really fascinating with a lot of the material that you've done over the years, and there's obviously it's comedy. There's a lot of silly stuff in there, but there's like it's just this funny thing where with a lot of blokes and a lot of guys, you can't just talk about stuff, like especially with your mates or just with other males. And humor has got to be that thing that breaks the ice to try and get something serious, onto the table to be able to have a conversation. And I think there's like all these topics that you put through your music and through your comedy where you're using humor to talk about a lot of vulnerable topics and stuff that you've gone through yourself over the years. And it's like this, it's the typical self-deprecating sort of humor, but it almost like unveils the curtain to a lot of things that guys go through, and it's sort of like, oh, thank fuck someone else is saying it. Like, but if it's saying it in with humor attached to it, which sort of just takes the pressure off the situation. Is that? I mean, it might not be that sort of focused or intentional from your end, but is that something you keep in mind when you're putting this stuff together?
Yeah, I'd always wanted to be that, not a thinking man's blokes comic, but like the mental health blokes comic, I guess. And probably the first thing I did with that, I did the exam song about the prostate exam, and that was a true story about my dad. He was too embarrassed, and he got basically nearly died. Like he was dying in his room, and like the neighbour came in and rang the ambulance. He was basically yellow, and we went to hospital. So why don't you just say something? And like he was saved, but it was like, mate, what are you doing? And then I thought it needs to be a funny song about, because it's a humorous exam, I guess. But I've also been told off on after a gig for singing that song with a guy that's had prostate cancer.
Oh,
so
really?
How dare you make fun of something like that? And in my head, I'm like, fuck, if you would have heard the song a year ago, maybe you'd be better off. And I thought a few other things, which I'm not going to say on the podcast. But yeah, he told me. I was on a cruise ship, and he just told me off at breakfast. It was a great breakfast.
More eggs.
Yeah, but also that I made that film clip, and I did like a doctor's function in Newcastle in the Hunter Valley, and they booked me for that song. So I finished with that song, and they give me a standing ovation, and they said, "If you got a video clip, we'll put it on our website." I'm like, "Yeah, sure." No, it was on there for like years.
Yeah.
So there's a positive. So.
Well, that's it. I mean, and you're always going to have somebody who's not going to be happy with what you do. So it's always there's always going to be somebody. So it is what it is. Goes with the territory. But I laughed when I first heard that song, because back when I was I was still in high school, and I was just you're still trying to work yourself out. You don't know what's going on in life, whether you're doing the right thing or the wrong thing. But I was just getting up multiple times during the night to go for a piss. Like I was just pissing like just crazy, just any sort of tingle. I was there, and I started getting paranoid because I got no clue. And then one night, late at night, I'm watching SBS, probably some dirty, SBS movie or something like that, and an ad or something comes up. I don't know where it was, but this ad pops up, and it's like talking about the symptoms of prostate cancer, and I just fabricated it and convinced myself that all the symptoms applied to me and I had prostate cancer. So I'm going to my mum. I go, Mum, I reckon I've got prostate cancer. And my mum's a registered nurse. So she just raised her eyebrow at me and went, yeah, okay, all right. Okay, why do you think that? And so I explained it. She goes, okay, well, if you want to go to the doctor, you can go to the doctor. Now, me not understanding what a prostate exam was, I've got no idea. I don't know what you need to do. I just prostate cancer. I thought, shit, I better go and get checked out. So little Chinese doctor down the road, and sitting in there. Mum stayed out of the room this time. This was the first time she'd never been in the room with me. I thought, oh, this is odd. Why did she walk out? And so and then he went and explained to me. I went through it, explained from my side, and then he told me what the prostate exam was, and just the blood just rushed from my face. I just went. I was lightheaded. I'm like, what? I made a big mistake here. I made a big mistake, and so we had a quick little party in the doctor's surgery there, and walked out, and my version of the walk of shame. I just it was not good. So yeah, listening to your song, I thought, oh, I can relate to this, and it's not the typical sort of story to be relating to, because technically, I mean, well, usually those things happen a little bit later in life, but I got in early and thought I'd get a good life experience moment ticked off the list.
What a great story, though. Have you ever told that on the podcast before?
No, I don't think I have. But the good thing about it is that I don't even know. I don't know if that same exam still happens now. I thought it's just a pinprick or something. I don't know if they stick the fingers up the arse now. But either way,
no, fingers the best. Apparently, they reckon.
Oh, right. Okay.
You can get a blood test, but fingers the best. So.
All right. Okay. So we'll still advocate for the latter.
That's why I close that song out when I play it live. I always go, you can get a blood test, but I like to be thorough. I pretty much go every Friday. So.
So I think just stuff like that, I reckon it's great, because it just takes the edge off things that are just not talked about, especially in, well, it's probably most cultures, but in Australian culture, you're not really talking about that stuff. It's one of the taboo subjects, one of many that have never spoken about around the table or with your parents or family or whatever it is. And especially for a guy, it's sort of like, geez, don't worry about that. Just forget about it. Just let it slide. If you don't think about it, it'll go away. And it's good that you're doing stuff like that just to bring it to attention.
It's hard to dance down that serious and comedy side. So, and sometimes it doesn't work. So, that's fun learning that on stage when it's not funny.
Crash and burn. Do you are you still going down that path now with like some of the newer stuff that you've been writing?
Yeah, because I'm at 55 now. So I'm just trying to relate to how I live my life, and mates are similar ages, and my kids are older now, and yeah, it's. I'd like to be cool and talk about young kid stuff, but I'm shocked at some of the stuff they talk about on stage. It's not my cup of tea, but people are laughing, and I think, well, it's a well-written joke. Good on you.
It's got the structure. It's got the hook. Yeah, and but I mean, I think that's what makes comedy great anyway. I think there's multiple different styles and different audiences as well. I mean, it's just like music, isn't it? You've got your different preferences of taste, and you just appeal to the audience that connects with the type of comedy that you do.
Yeah, it's funny. People are funny because if you're on a bill of about 7 comics, people will come up to you and tell you who was the best, like it's a competition. But it's about the whole night, It's like, oh, you were good, but he was heaps better than you. You should be better than that, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, fuck, we've got to, we're sensitive people. That's why we talk on stage with a microphone. We know when we're shit. We don't need you to tell us.
It's like the battle of the bands. It's like, you won the night. The rest of you guys are losers. Yeah.
I tell you to your face, which never used to happen in the past. I think it's like live tweeting to your face.
But do you get a lot of that from people? Because I'd assume that most people would reserve the criticisms or what they think are probably helpful sort of comments for social media these days.
It's rare, but every now and again when it happens, it's still, you're never ever prepared for it. Or sometimes you'll see someone walking towards you and you know exactly what they're going to say. You just feel they want to be that person where you go, I'll stop you there. I know exactly what you're going to say, but no, I go, no, hear me out. One girl yesterday, she was telling, we were on a gig yesterday, and she was saying, oh, you were good because you talk to the crowd. That's what everyone wants. The other guy, he just had like an act and he talked. And I went, that other guy is one of the best comedians in Australia at the moment. And I just talked to the crowd because I ran out of material. And she's like, no, but you that's what they want. I went, not everyone wants that. People will pay money. It was Luke Heggie she was talking about.
Yeah,
and I'm
right.
like, because Luke just gets up there and just plows and has this stuff written that's amazing. And I cry every time I watch him.
Yeah.
But he doesn't talk to the crowd. But it's like, she goes, oh, that's what we want. I went, no, it's not what everyone wants. People pay $30 to go and see him talk, and no one else talks. So
The Karen of comedy.
yes, she was a Karen. Karen had far too many champagnes in the sun.
A lovely Sunday sesh.
Yes.
Oh man. Oh yeah. It's we get it at metal shows every once in a while. Like you'll finish a set and you'll run over to the merch table and try and flog some t-shirts and CDs, and there'll be some people that'll linger around and just I don't know if it's just the type of music that we play, but we tend to attract different types of people, but people that might be a little bit socially awkward. And
Yeah.
and they're shuffling over to the side, and you might be sort of flogging some t-shirts and trying to get some sales and whatever, and trying to do the salesman sort of thing at the end of the gig, and then in the corner of your eye you can see this person sort of shoulders sort of slumped, heads down, sort of looking at the carpet, sort of looking down, but then their eyes sort of half cocked up, looking at you, trying to get your attention at the same time. And you're thinking, oh shit! All right, I've got a potential punisher is about to ambush me any moment now, and then they'll come over and they'll dissect the night for you. And it's just they're lovely people. They mean well. I mean, it comes from a good place, but. Oh, geez, it's
Really?
yeah, and I mean it happens all the time. It's just I mean they're just ultra passionate. It's sort of like the music nerd, they know everything. They know they've got the entire collection on CD or vinyl or whatever it is, and they know the liner notes, they know the lineup changes, they know the storylines. And so they've got all that in the back of their head. That's their framework. And then they've just seen the night. They've just seen you on stage. And so they've got a reference point, and they're going to give their review. Instead of going online and typing up a review and putting it on a website and helping to promote us, they just want to tell us to our face. And I'm like, great, thank you so much. I'm glad that you noticed when I stacked it on stage or I missed a string or whatever it might be.
Oh, really? Really?
But it's I guess it comes with the territory, doesn't it? You just you get on stage, you perform. It's a public sort of thing, and it's a given that you're going to have that public interaction in the opposite way as well.
Yeah, it isn't interesting. Like metal bands and punk bands, they have to sell their merch after the show, or comedy, you have to sell your own merch after the show. Mariah Carey doesn't have to do that, does she? Imagine Mariah at the merch table.
Yeah, please, I'll sign every copy. Just
Elton John at the merch table. Yeah, I had nothing to do. I thought I'd come out here.
Yeah, quick. I'm just gonna quickly. Someone pack up my piano for me. I'm gonna run across the room, quickly get to the merch table.
Yeah, you're chucking everything about. I've got to get to the merch table. We've all done that.
Oh yeah, the amount of times I've quickly yelled to one of the guys and say, "Look, can you pack up my shit? I've got to run to that table and I've got to start selling some stuff." And then end of the night, everyone's being cleared out, and I look on stage and there's my bass. And I go,
yeah.
Thanks, guys. Thanks.
I feel this audience has got a lot of t-shirts and stubby coolers in them. I can sense it. I've got to get to that merch table.
I haven't really been paying attention to what I've been playing throughout the set. I've been eyeing off the ratio of metal t-shirts in the crowd. How many are Iron Maiden, which is usually a high sort of conversion. So I reckon I've got a good chance of flogging, at least 30 to 40 t-shirts. So I'm gonna make the most of that. So guys, back me up here.
Salesman first, bass player second.
Oh, it's a bit like that. Yeah, I've forgotten how to play. It's all about hustle now. It's all Facebook posting and sharing links and getting new merch printed up, and the music. Oh yeah, that's right. Oh fuck, we've got to record some music. I forgot about that.
Yeah, it's jack of all trades. Good on you.
That's it. Speaking of jack of all trades, you've got a podcast as well, and I didn't know about it until a few days ago, and I've been listening to a few episodes over the past couple of days. The Unhinged Uncast podcast with Julia Wilson.
Were you shocked, Andy?
No, I was loving it. It was great. If anything, it was a breath of fresh air because it doesn't appear to be that there's what would it be? There's just no limitations to what you're both going to talk about. It's just it's a bit of a free for all. It's a bit of a let's just see what comes out of our mouths. So I love it.
Yeah, it's just two old mates sitting together with notes and talking shit, and pretty much because we can't afford a mental health plan, so we deal with each other's shit on a podcast.
Well, that might be the new way of doing things now. In the whole sort of therapist industry or whatever that is. That mental health industry will just collapse, and everyone will just start. Well, it's already happened, hasn't it? Everyone's got a podcast these days.
Yeah. It'd be a good line from your psychiatrist when you got in there and you tell him all your problems, and he just comes back, or she comes back and goes, "Have you tried starting a podcast, Michael?"
There's a good
I'm like, "No, but thanks for the advice."
Well, I feel it could be the opposite for me because I've never been to one, but if I ever sort of feel the need to go to one, I might just give them the entire back catalogue of the antisocial and just go, listen to this and then come back to me and then tell me what my problem is. And
open with a prostate story.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, see how many red flags you can find throughout the last 200 plus episodes.
No, you're doing all right, mate. I think you're fine.
Yeah, I'm hanging in there. Going back to metal, you mentioned before, like when you're getting to metal, the whole new wave of British heavy metal and all that sort of stuff. Are there any bands that have sort of stood the test of time for you these days that are just reoccurring sort of, you always go back to them? I mean, obviously, you mentioned like Priest and Maiden and stuff like that, but are there classic albums or bands that you sort of they're just a go-to all the time?
I can listen to that Angel Witch album start to finish and still get a bit of a glint in the eye, and good. I'll go to the gym and have it in the ears, Some of the old Stay in Class, Judas Priest, I quite like that. Who else? My early Motorhead, I've seen them quite a bit over the years. Anthrax, they still go all right. Who else is there?
Where do you end?
Yeah, I have many Spotify playlists, 70s metal.
Yeah, right.
70s and early 80s metal. Yeah, I love that stuff. But yeah, and there's a lot of crap there too, just quietly.
Oh, have you branched out in the over the years and sort of gone, I'm going to broaden my taste a little bit and listen to a few different things and some stuff that might not be traditionally sort of heavy metal or stereotypically heavy metal?
Oh man, I've got a broad taste of music. I love all sorts of music. Yeah, I love music. I think I've heard every song because I run a lot now and I listen to podcasts when I run. And they go, "What do you listen to podcasts about?" Because I think I've heard every song.
It's like I've drunk every beer and and now I've listened to every song.
No, but I just love music. So if you can sling a few ideas my way, I'll listen to it. Yeah.
Do you with Spotify, do you have playlists set up based on the activity, like what you're going to be listening, like what are you going to be doing while you're listening to it, or is it more around the type of music?
I have quite a few running playlists, Andy. I have quite a few metal weightlifting playlists. And my partner, we're both in fitness instructors now, but she does more than I do, and she's not very tech savvy, so I make up her playlist for her classes, and I slip a bit of metal in every now and again, and she'll scold me as we walk home together. I heard one of them rah 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 songs in my playlist.
Her classes just all turn around and go, what's that? All right.
Or someone will go, "Was that you, Mick?" And I'm like, yeah.
You got a reputation.
Yeah.
With the fitness stuff, I mean, that was something I was gonna have a chat to you about because, if I look at you visually, you've changed over the years. You look a bit different these days to what you used to. Was there a sort of, I don't know, like a little bit of a moment that you had where you thought, "Fuck, I've got to make some changes or take a different approach and start to go down this fitness sort of path," or I don't know, what was that turning point, if there was one?
Well, I always was reasonably fit, even when I was fat. But yeah, fat fit. That's a thing too. But it made me quite depressed to be overweight. So it was really bothering me for years and years and years. But I just couldn't quite work out how to get over that little hump sort of thing. Because I'd get to a certain stage and then I'd like go back on the donuts. Something like that. But yeah, it was probably 4 years ago, and I was sort of living in Manly with a friend, and I went to CrossFit.
You're right.
That religion.
Oh God! I mean, talk about going from 0 to 100.
Yeah. So I did boot camp with the girl that I was living with on Manly Beach in the morning, and then someone told me about CrossFit. I just give it a crack, and it killed me. It destroyed me. But I kind of, because of I had fat fitness, or whatever you call it, fat fit. I kind of got fit fairly quickly. So and then I changed my diet, kind of got off the booze a bit, and went from there. And then I met my partner, who I'm with, and she was a runner, and I went, I don't run. But she sort of got me over the 5K limit, and now I run quite a bit. So it was just a combination of finally getting it right. I don't do CrossFit anymore, but it was kind of the good kickstart. And now I'm actually a fitness instructor. So I did that during COVID.
Wow, I mean that's crazy, especially sort of going from that starting point to not just, I guess, enjoying, being fit and exercising, but then going to the next step and becoming a fitness instructor as well. I mean, wow. It's definitely taking it next level.
Yeah, well, sort of COVID was rearing its ugly head, and I went, I'd need to look after myself here and do some TAFE course or something, and it was either fitness or cooking. And I think I probably chose the best one because I just think I would have lost interest in the cooking. I can cook at home, but I thought I was going to be like a cook or something. But yeah, I kind of strolled straight into a bit of a job as soon as I finished my course. I train retirees in the inner west. Yeah, and they're really funny. Yeah, there's a lot of material there, and they say don't ever do any material on them. But I'm like, there's so much here.
So I'll change the names to protect the innocent or the guilty.
Yeah.
Yeah. With the CrossFit stuff blows my mind because what was the motivation to keep you going? Because I can imagine, I'm just trying to reflect on me. I'm the shittest when it comes to exercising. I've only in the past year have really enjoyed walking, and I do a lot of walking now, but that's the extent. And for me, it's me trying to desperately build up a habit in my head that eventually everything else will fall into place, and I'll go, oh yeah, exercise is fun. But CrossFit, I can imagine being motivated to go and do maybe the first couple of sessions, but after that, what got you through? What kept you going?
I was getting results, which I wasn't in the past. So, because I tried everything, and I just kind of gained weight over the years because I was a pretty good sports person in my 20s, and then I just stopped, got married, and bought a couple of cartons of beer a week, and ate fried food, and but yeah, I was getting results. It was probably a combination because I was kind of looking after myself. So yeah, I reckon this is the darkest part of the podcast. I reckon I'd probably be dead if I was going down that path the way I was going. I was just unhealthy, so it was a survival thing, sink or swim.
Well, it's probably a good thing because for a lot of people, it's sort of like the story you said earlier about your dad, getting that close to tragedy, but luckily sort of being okay. And a lot of people sort of wait until that sort of moment of a health scare or something really horrible happening before they see the light and go, oh fuck, maybe I need to do something. So it sounds like you got ahead of it.
Yeah, and you go back to men, how they talk and how I do my comedy. The large amount of men my age came up to me and said, you look really good. We thought you were going to die. So yeah, I said, why didn't you tell me that? And they went, no, we didn't know how to say it. I said, but you can say it now. And they went, yeah, well, you're all right now. And I'm like, what if I was dead? And they went, well, you wouldn't be here, so it doesn't matter. So yeah, men need to learn how to express themselves to their friends and go, mate, we're a bit concerned. You don't look very well.
I've got this Facebook group with a bunch of mates, and we've known each other for years, and it's just like that. There's not a lot of D&M, sort of deep and meaningful conversations happening. It's basically shit posting, a bunch of like inappropriate pictures, photos of the beers that we're drinking, and just shitty behavior. It's just a way to sort of get it out of our systems. But even yesterday it was funny because a mate of mine was going, "Oh, look, I'm not gonna drink this week. I'm not gonna have anything during the week," and I go, "Oh yeah, good call. I won't have a beer until Friday afternoon. So all right, let's do that." And then another mate just starts laughing, and I go, "Fuck you, Craig." I said, "Support your mates." And then he just replies back and goes, "Haha, I'm pissed right now." And so everyone cracked up, and then we said, "Look, no beer photos in the chat until Friday afternoon. So if you're going to have a beer, don't show it. Don't put it in the post. Don't encourage anyone's bad behavior here. So just leave it out." And it's the only way we can do it to sort of prop each other up, because otherwise it's just a case of, "Oh, look, it's Monday afternoon. I've got a mate at Manly, and he'd be at Four Pines going, several pints in on a Monday afternoon, and be like, 'Oh man, mate, this is tough,' especially today because it's a scorcher." So yeah. So that type of stuff, it's completely relatable, because it's just you're not often having those sort of supportive conversations, and when you do, you're desperately trying to make it humorous to try and get people involved and encourage them to do the right thing.
Yeah, men behaving responsibly. Is that the name of your group or what? There's a T-shirt for you.
Actually, I think we've got a name for ours. It's Go Fuck Yourself Incorporated. So I think that's what it is.
Got to have the incorporated for tax reasons.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, well, because I just started instructing mental health first aid, and I tell a story because everyone's got a theory on Are You OK Day, saying it's just this one day where people just throw out, "Oh, are you okay?" And it's very half-assed and all that. But sometimes it does start a conversation. But I remember when Are You OK Day came out, my mate rang up and says, "Oh mate, just ringing up about Are You OK Day? Are you okay?" And I went, "Oh, thanks for calling. To be honest, I'm not feeling that great. I'm pretty down." And he just went, "Oh, you'll be right, mate. See ya."
It's like, oh shit! I didn't expect you to actually. You meant to say, "Yeah, I'm fine, thanks."
Yeah, it's like that Aussie thing when you go, "How you going, mate?" and they go, "Oh, actually, I'm not too good." And you went, "Fuck, it's not what I asked you, mate. You just answer like, 'Yeah, I'm all right, yeah.'"
I've seen it in the workplace where you're walking down the corridor and you both say, "How you going?" and no one answers. You just keep walking by each other, just going, "How you going?
Yeah.
How you going?" It's like,
"There you go.
What was that? What was that?
How you going is the answer to how you going.
So with the fitness stuff, I'm curious because you had the song, you drunk every beer, and I assume that you still enjoy a beer now and then. But the big sort of where the cogs are turning in my head is, how do I sustain a lifestyle where I can still enjoy drinking beer, but not just completely ruin my health in the process? And so that's where my mind's at the moment. That's my motivator. So, coming from yourself and over the past few years of your journey, what's the balanced lifestyle look like now to ensure that you can still indulge a little bit?
Oh, you're going to be disappointed with this, Andy, because I train my ass off, actually.
Oh, no.
I do. I train really hard.
No, you meant to give me a hack.
Yeah. No, Friday, me and my partner, we walk to there's a club like 30 minutes away. Like, we walk there, and then we pretty much get leathered, have a steak, get pissed, walk home. But leading up to that, she teaches more than I do, but she trains hard too. Yeah, I train 5 times a week.
Well,
probably got my little watch that tells me how hard I've trained. We eat boringly. No more donuts. No more donuts. I used to have a donut tattoo, and she made me cover it up with another tattoo the other day, actually. So, because it's got a bad backstory, that donut.
Oh, right. Okay. Do I dare to ask?
No, we're not going down.
Oh, okay, all right.
You might know the answer to that one, actually.
Oh. All right. So yeah, okay. I'm gonna have to work my ass off. If I really want to indulge, I'm gonna have to put the hard yards in.
Or just find just got to find your level, I guess. But my level is, I still quite a few big nights on the booze. I don't eat too much bad food, and I do a lot of running, and I do a lot of HIIT classes, high intensity interval training. So there you go. I'm sorry I haven't got a good answer for you.
You've broken my heart.
You've just gone quiet. You
Yeah, I
actually
know.
stopped the podcast there.
My
Here's
mind's
this
wandered
answer.
off. I'm like, oh shit! Well, I'm gonna have to fucking turn my life upside down now. Far out. Okay.
But I'm one of those people that can gain weight quite easily. I think
Yeah,
you're quite thin, aren't you?
Yeah, but so I grew up a really chubby, tubby kid, so I've always
right.
sort of had that, and I think you, like a lot of people, you sort of shed the puppy fat when you start to sort of get into your late teens. But I've always had like the beer gut torso sort of thing happening. So, you know, chicken legs, chicken arms, but I'm packing a keg, and
Nice.
and I think as I get older, it's the metabolism's certainly going to kick up a notch, or kick down a notch, I should say. And so I'm starting to think about it a lot more now. And go, oh, I need to get ahead of this because it's going to blow out. It's going to blow out. It's a given. So yeah, so it's about I think a lot of it's. I mean, no doubt for you, it would have been mind games as far as just psychologically, just ensuring that you're showing up each day and just, you know, one day at a time, and just keeping, not trying to think about the long term, but just sort of going, just win the day.
Yeah, and I'm pretty paranoid about gaining weight again. So, and I remember how unhappy I was. So I'm quite happy the way I am. So I've just got to stay on that path, but not religiously, just sensibly. Because in the early days I overtrained, but now I'm at a good level now. I'll do 5 days a week is enough. But I can do 3. Some weeks I do 3 days a week, and it's enough. I don't gain weight, and I still feel fit. So sorry, I'm waffling.
No, that's the point of a podcast, I guess. So you should be used to that by now. Speaking of podcasts, I noticed that with the Unhinged Uncast podcast, that's a mouthful. Hasn't been out for a bit. Like, there hasn't been an episode out for a little while. Are you going to do some more with Julia?
Yeah, well, we're always going into a hiatus every now and again. I had my house in Blacktown, the residents kind of wrecked it. So I went into fixing my house for weeks on end. And Julia's got her own stuff to deal with. But yeah, I think we're going to do one next week. So
there you go.
There'll be a lot to talk about because I've got new tattoos and she's got men she's probably shagged, and she can't wait to tell me about it because I love hearing about it.
I think there's one, it might have been the last episode, or it might have been the clip that was on your YouTube channel, and I went to click on it, and I got the YouTube warning first, the grayed out to the screen saying, if you click this, there's going to be some sort of highly sensitive content. I thought, what the fuck could it possibly be? And it was just Julia talking about how much more she's masturbating, in COVID. She's not on stage anymore because of COVID, so she's just basically doing the same thing, and a bit of self-congratulations at home. And I just thought, oh, okay, well,
applauding herself.
Yeah, that's right.
If you can call it that.
Yeah, I thought, oh, YouTube, you're getting quite conservative on me. I mean, geez, there's bloody beheading videos and everything on YouTube, and you're worried about that. Jeez.
Well, the Louder Than Judas Priest one, I don't think it's on there anymore because I stripped it back a bit. But yeah, you would have liked that one. That's a good story.
Oh, I'll have to check that one out.
So she's got a T-shirt. I made her a T-shirt for Christmas. It says "Louder Than Judas Priest." The story actually goes, we're on tour and she was in another room and she might have been entertaining somebody, and I didn't want to hear about it, so I put the headphones in and cranked out a bit of Judas Priest, but it didn't block it out. So she's louder than Judas Priest.
And you actually got her a T-shirt.
Yeah, I made her a T-shirt. Yeah, got one made up for her.
Love it.
It's her pride and joy. Her dad doesn't know anything about this. Dad goes, what's this bloody Judas Priest? What's this mean? What's his story?
Go, give him a link to the podcast, I'm sure.
No.
Oh, yeah. More hearts being broken.
Yeah, no, she's great. She's a great person. She's a good mate.
Oh, look, I don't know a lot about about Julia. I've really been enjoying her on your podcast, but I have seen some of her comedy over the years, and like just real. I mean, I don't even know if this is the right way to describe it, but just rough around the edges, blunt as. It's just really funny stuff. And I guess that's the point of when you're a comedian, you want it to be funny, so you tick the box. But yeah, I really like her style. I like the way she does comedy. So yeah, I'm keen to hear some more episodes of the podcast.
Yep. Well, we'll get them out for you, mate. No worries.
Sounds good. Well, before I let you go, so what's apart from Rod being out now, and I'll link to that so people can go and check that out, and I'll link to the last album as well, so people can go and check that one out as well. But what else is happening? I mean, obviously starting to get back into gigging again and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, got a lot of Christmas parties booked in. I think I've Manly Boat Shed coming up, so that's probably the only public gig I've got coming up. But there's a few coming in, so yeah, I'll advertise it if you link them back to me.
Yeah, all right, sounds good. I'll do that. I might even come out and
Nice.
I'll tell you about how well you did, or how shit.
Yeah. I'll meet you at the merch table, mate.
Alrighty, go and reach out to Mick by going to mick.com.au. I love that URL, so good. Mick's also on Instagram at Mick Meredith, and on Facebook, comedian Mick Meredith. Of course, I'll have everything in the show notes over at andysocial.net and andydowling.net. Go and check out his new song, Rod. I believe there's a video clip coming very soon, so I'm looking forward to that because the song is hilarious. And yeah, I can only begin to imagine what the video is going to look like. Go and check out his podcast, Unhinged Uncast, with Julia Wilson. And yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff there. So go and support him. Go and say hello. Like any guest that's been on the podcast over the past 5 years, go and reach out to them. Give them a little bit of Andy-social love, and I'm sure they'd be stoked to hear from you. Before we wrap it up, of course, patreon.com/Andy Dowling. Come and join Team Chronoplan. I've got a few t-shirts left. The most ridiculous t-shirt design I think I've done, and I've done a Mork and Andy design, so that's pretty ridiculous. If you don't know what that is, don't even bother asking. But if you're in the know, you're in the know. The Team Chronoplan shirts, there's still a few left. I think there's probably only about 10 left, so go and have a look on Bandcamp for that. I'll chuck a link in the show notes anyway. But Patreon is the place to go to support this podcast. I'm getting sidetracked with Soviet planes. It's not even a plane, it's an Chronoplan. Patreon. Anyway, patreon.com/Andy Dowling is the place to go, and supports us from only $1 a month. It is dirt cheap. If you just want to sling me a little feel-good payment every month, it's a great way to just back the podcast and help fuel it for many years to come. I've got lots of guests and ideas and different directions I'm going to take this podcast in the coming months and years, and you guys getting behind it and supporting on Patreon is helping that all happen. A massive thank you to everybody that's been joining me on Patreon, but in particular, the guys who are my social circle and the $20, whatever the hell it's called, the I Think We Need to Talk tier. And those guys include Mick G from Sydney, Andrew from Perth, Ash from Deniliquin, Dan from Dapto, Rod from Rayleigh in North Carolina, Patrick from Canberra, who's on the $20 tier, Liam from Brisbane, Chris from Sydney, Brendo from Leeton, Tim from Canberra, James from Brisbane, and Christian from Canberra, who's also on the $20 tier. You guys are crazy. Thank you so much, guys. You guys are the heavy hitters, the ones that are supporting the big bucks towards this podcast, as well as everybody else who's supporting on Patreon. Thank you so much, just on all the tiers. And by all means, come and join. Anything above $1, so the $5 tier and above, gets access to the weekly Patreon podcast that comes out every Tuesday morning, Sydney time at 6 a.m. Had to think about that. There's a bit of karaoke. There's planes, trains, and automobiles. There's usually a little interesting story for me to tell you all. Something that's happening in the world. Nice and informative, educational, I like to say, and lots of dumb things that are happening in my world, and lots of silly things to share. So come over and join on Patreon, get to listen to that, and support the cause. Much appreciated. Thanks so much for backing the podcast. Now, next week's guest is an international guest, a musician. He loves a beer. That might that might give a few too many hints for some of you guys, but I'm going to leave it at that. Looking forward to sharing that one with you. I've got a whole bunch coming. We're getting very close to Chrissy. Christmas is almost around the corner, and I'm looking forward to sharing more episodes as we roll into the new year. There are no breaks. We're going to keep this train a-chugging. Until next week, folks, take care and ta-ta! Larry.